Conquer fam, what's going on? It's Coach Tommy and Coach Jared bringing you guys another Conquer chat slash YouTube video. We got some good stuff on tap for you today that I think will hit a lot of you guys at home. I think a lot of you will be able to relate to this. Sorry for the stutter or the pause there, the long pause. We're talking today about if you're an athlete who needs to get stronger, should you stop doing CrossFit? And when we say CrossFit, just like conditioning, all right, Metcons, let's think of it like that. And I think this is a great talk because I think a lot of people have this thought and ask themselves if that's what they should do, and we'll give our advice on it. NFL playoffs, baby, are lit right now. We got to talk about it quickly.
You watched both games yesterday?
No, I don't watch any of them, but I watched the highlights. I watched
Man.
what was the 3 o'clock game? Well,
Um,
Rams Eagles.
yeah, yeah,
That was a good game, but then it wasn't. But I was texting you during that game. That was
yeah.
a good game. That came down to the wire. And then the second game's just way too late for me. I mean, it's a 6 o'clock game, which means it ends at like 9:30. I'm asleep by 8:30. So
So yeah, the Eagles they did a great job. And honestly, I thought the Rams were going to pull it off at the end, but their offensive line made two mistakes like the last three plays, and then they got sacked and had to throw the ball away basically. Um, and then the Ravens game was really really interesting because it was to me it was the fact that the Ravens were the better team. They were just like they could play better, and then they made so many mistakes that it cost them the game. I mean,
so here's a hot take. Well, no, here's my question for you actually.
yeah,
Will Lamar Jackson ever win a Super Bowl?
I'm gonna say no.
Me too.
No, like he's a fantastic player. He's phenomenal, and some of the plays he made, like that last drive, was
Oh
amazing,
yeah.
just freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not like his last throw was bad, but it's
No.
just like he
He makes
can't just
bad
make
turnovers.
those plays. Yeah.
Yeah, fumble he had was atrocious.
Hmm.
The play was blown up from the very beginning. He should have threw it at the floor right away. Anyone else would have just like that. Tom Brady would have threw that ball at the floor for sure.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes might have tried to do something crazy because he's crazy like that too. But most quarterbacks thrown at the floor. He tries to make a play, lose the ball in the snow. When it's snowing, you gotta be smart. He's just not smart enough. And also less to do with like his actual capabilities of a quarterback. I do think he turns the ball over too much.
Hmm.
But like he's just going up against guys who are going to beat him.
Hmm.
Mahomes and Allen are always going to beat him, in my opinion. It's going to be really hard for him to beat both those quarterbacks and win a Super Bowl.
I agree. I agree. I thought they had the Bills number though, because like the way they were just like hammering the ball down the field at the end, I thought they were gonna pull it off.
Even if they got that 2 point conversion, I would bet a lot of money Josh Allen's going down the field with 90 seconds and getting three.
Oh, that's true. That's right. There was a lot of time on the
With
clock.
90 seconds. I was like, you shouldn't
Yeah.
have scored that touchdown yet. It was too soon. You can't give him that much
Yeah.
time. I'm sure they had timeouts because they were winning too, so they were screwed either way. Um, Jaden Daniels will win a Super Bowl.
Uh,
That dude's a dog.
yeah, things are a lot different now with new ownership. That's changed them completely. And this is what their first year or second year? I think second year now that they got rid of Dan Snyder. I can't recall exactly.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they're going to change their name, I think, again,
Oh God.
which
all
I
their
love.
all their fan base gonna be so pissed gonna have all this stuff from different things. They
Sure.
gotta keep buying new stuff
I'm contemplating becoming a Commanders fan
because of him.
because of him and because the Jets. I don't even consider them a franchise anymore. Um, but they have to change their name for me to do it.
Yeah.
Commanders is trash.
Um,
Redskins is sick.
yeah. Something I saw in him, and I know we're really diverging off the path, but I read somewhere, whether it's true or not, that he did a lot of VR training.
I saw that too.
Yeah, whether like I don't know whether that's true or not. I didn't have time to like fact check it, but if that's true, like that's a pretty good resource to be able to utilize and speed up your processing. And I mean, the guy still makes mistakes, but I mean, that's just mental reps that you can't get when you're going at half speed against your team.
I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
I think they're going to beat the Eagles. I'm telling you, they're going to beat the Eagles.
I don't know if they can stop Barkley. That's what it is.
You know what? I don't think, and this is my personal opinion, but I don't think he matters enough. Like he was amazing yesterday, and they still almost lost.
Yeah.
Like he had 200 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and like Jane Daniels can go score 42 points in a game.
Hmm.
Saquon can't. Like he's a running back. You can only do so much. I think plus Hertz is going to be a little beat up.
Yeah.
I think people care more about this in CrossFit, so we'll keep talking. Uh, he's a little beat up. I don't think he's got it. I think he's got the Lamar Jackson effect where he just can't get the job done. I don't see the Eagles in the Super Bowl this year, personally. I don't.
I
Chiefs,
think the X factor. I think the X factor and all of that they got to play in Philly again, right? And
that's true.
you know, is I don't know if they're calling for any snow. That was kind of wild that both games yesterday were all snowy and stuff like that.
That
Um,
was sick.
yeah, I mean, like it changes things a lot. So I don't know if that plays an effect or not. I mean,
Fair. That's a fair point.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm rooting for the Redskins to win, but if I had to put my life on it, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. How about you?
Oh God. Man, if I had to put my life on it,
Yeah, life on it.
oh God. I guess I just picked the Chiefs just because
Yeah.
it feels like they won all those games, and for a while I thought that they used up all their luck winning like these 3-point one score games, but doesn't seem to matter.
Mahomes is the dude. You can't bet against him. Who do you want to win?
Oh man,
You want Josh Allen to win.
I don't know if I have a preference. I don't know
Okay.
if I have a preference in all of those. If the Lions would have made it, I would have rooted for the Lions just because of their history and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But man, they couldn't put it together when it mattered either.
Thomas Voss, if you're listening, I feel bad for you, my friend. Sorry. Diehard Detroit fan.
Yeah, I got a couple of Detroit fans who've been living it up the past couple of years, especially this season. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I have it. I don't care who wins this one. Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right, let's get into it. Should CrossFit athletes who need to get stronger stop doing CrossFit? And let's like make a let's make this more relatable. So we're not talking about the person who can like clean 330 315 and needs to clean 365, right? We're talking the person who's at like a 225 clean right now. A
Mhm.
male. Male's high things. What's your take?
Should they stop doing CrossFit? I think it's so. This is gonna sound silly, but I think it kind of starts on like what's their age,
Okay.
what are they looking at in terms of years down the road? What is it they would like to be able to do? Because if they're, I'm not trying to downplay anybody, but if you're like 35 years old, you're cleaning
Yeah.
225, and you're like, hey, I want to clean 315 down the road, like
Not happening, bro.
it's gonna be challenging. It's gonna be challenging. You're gonna hit some of your highest numbers in mid late 20s. So age will be one thing.
Yeah, we're talking about cleans, and
Right.
snatch,
Yeah.
not squats and deadlifts, right? Like
Right.
a little
Yeah.
different, right?
Um, you know, I think you can, from my perspective, I would still have them do CrossFit, just not every single day. It's like,
Yeah.
how many times, if assuming you can do all the certain skills like ring muscle ups and handstand push ups,
Well,
do them once a week and keep them relatively fresh. They don't need to be great, or even every other week for that matter. You can focus a lot of your time on just getting stronger. But I wouldn't completely cut things out. I think it's probably one of the things they enjoy doing. So as long as they enjoy training, they'll keep doing it. So they can touch on those little points, still work on getting stronger. Let's say 4 out of 5 days, then that's probably the route I would take.
there's a large argument to be made there, and I can make both arguments. I definitely am more on your side of things for sure. Like absolutely. Um, for a few reasons you touched on one of them, which is like skill development. Like for the person who's not strong enough, like if you're not young in the sport, like you're just not going to probably ever get strong. Like I'm sorry, it's just like if you're 5 years into the sport and strength is still your issue, like the odds of you getting strong enough are probably low. You're probably just not really genetically built to be strong. Like that.
Mhm.
That's my opinion. Personally, can you prove me wrong? Probably. Guess what? I'm the person who wasn't genetically gifted to be good at the clean and snatch. And so that's where it's coming from. Okay.
Mhm.
So, um, and that could be so many reasons. Mine was mobility, really, honestly, and it was just never going to happen. So, anyway, so there's two things. One, we have this Nikki. She's an athlete for Conquer. Okay, she's been in the sport now for 3 years. She's going to be she's competing at the elite levels, semifinals, Wadapalooza, all these things, right? And she came into the sport with a massive strength background, right? The ability to clean and snatch with the best of them. And so you could look at her and go, well, she never did CrossFit, came in with this massive strength background, and then was able to get, she competed at the CrossFit Games a year and a half into CrossFit on a team. Then the next year, individual semis, and then there's this year, right? And I would make a lot of rebuttals to that. I think she's more of an anomaly than she's what most can do. I've met plenty of people who are as strong as her who are not nearly as good as CrossFit.
Mhm.
She's also 140 pounds and is as strong as everyone, which most people are heavier.
Mhm.
Um, and she was someone who picked up skills fairly well and has a VO2 max of an elite athlete with only a couple years of cardiovascular training. So that my personal opinion is that there's very few that actually can do that well. However, I know another guy named Phil Toon, who's a buddy of mine, whose philosophy was very similar to Nikki's. He ended up getting, popped for drugs. So whoever's listening to this, I'm friends with him, so I'm just saying this. However, either way, he was capable of doing very similar things, which was get very strong, not do a whole lot of CrossFit 2-3 times a week. When he did CrossFit, he did it really hard, brought intensity to it, got strong enough to compete, increased his CrossFit volume, and was at the top of the sport. Drugs alone isn't going to do that at all, especially in the sport of CrossFit, because you have to be way more mentally gifted than physical, in my opinion. But so you can make that argument. Now, for the other person, I think that there's not a lot of people who can pick up the skills and start performing them extremely well inside of mixed modal settings if you don't practice it enough.
Mhm.
And so that's still what something that Nikki struggles with is like, she just hasn't done she hasn't had as many repetitions under her belt as these other athletes have. Some of these movements are still almost seem foreign to her because it's only so much you can do in a week over 3 years,
Sure.
you know?
Right.
And so, if she was to go back in time, who's to say that she couldn't develop that strength as well as all the skill capacity with inside of the sport of CrossFit and get to this level and potentially be at a better place?
Mhm.
What do you think?
Yeah. Honestly, like you're right. It's very person dependent. There are some people who can. So I'm kind of backtracking. I have a number of athletes who I can give them like let's say four different things to work on, and like all four of those things will just shoot up the same level no matter what I do.
Yep.
I have some athletes where it's like, hey, you get like two things a week to focus on because like that's you need so many different touch points on these two particular things in order to see progress. And so there, like you said, there are some people who are just naturally gifted that you could probably throw, like that's why you see like I'll use Emma Lawson as an example. I don't think she started off as, hey, I'm going to do strength only. She just started doing everything.
Yeah.
And because she had a certain skill set, genetics, like as all those things improved at the same rate, she was able to maintain a high level of strength, a high level of gymnastics, high level of coordination, and all those things. But she also started at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenge of that is most people anymore aren't starting at 13, 14 into this stuff. They're starting in their 20s, maybe even their late 20s, maybe their 30s, maybe even later on. And to be able to try to do all those things simultaneously, you just don't get the same bang for your buck.
Yep.
That's when it becomes specific where you have to determine, am I going to focus, like you said, on strength? Am I going to focus a little bit more on skill? Because like you said, it just comes down to the more reps you get in, the better you're going to get, provided that those reps are done with intention and quality, not just reps to get reps in, just like volume to get volume in. So, it's very, very person dependent on how they progress, on how well they adapt to strength training, on, like even like the timing of what's going on in their lives. If you're trying to strength train and you just have a newborn kid, like I can tell you, it's probably not going to go well. You're going to have sleepless nights. You're not going to recover fast enough. It's going to be trash. You're going to go through a 12-week cycle to add 5 pounds or not even PR at all.
Yep.
So, those are the outside influences that you don't think about, but certainly play a role in, how things develop in different times of your life. So it can certainly vary. There's not really a a set way. And I think it just depends on so many different variables. It's hard to say this would work for you versus this. Kind of just depends on, what your adaptation is.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things also I want to touch on. One of the things also is like, who's to say that you can build this level of strength and then maintain it once you bring CrossFit back into it? I think a lot of people don't realize that you can lose it. Like you could lose some of that strength. You go from being a strength only athlete to then trying to add conditioning back in. There's going to be a drop off, right? So maybe what happens is that you'd end up in the same place trying to bring it all up at once than if you brought it up, but then knowing you're going to lose some by adding in conditioning, Um, now here's the thing. I have kids who are younger, guys who are younger, who just clearly need to get stronger. And so
Mhm,
with that being the case, like that is the bias of the program,
mhm,
right? Like, however, I'm still adding CrossFit in, like you said, uh, a good chunk throughout the week. My philosophy behind it is just that the volume is significantly lower in
mhm,
terms of CrossFit. I'm not doing tons of intervals with them. I'm just letting them go do CrossFit as if they're in a class, like
mhm,
7 minute AMRAP here, 4 rounds for time here. And really, the idea behind it is just so that they could practice the skill of the sport of CrossFit, get the movement capacity down, have that technique touches, have those things. Honestly, the other thing is that like intensity is a skill. And to be able to bring intensity inside a CrossFit workout, like you need to practice that regularly. Like
mhm,
if you're not doing that, it's not going to just magically pop up. The more you train it, the better you get at it. So personally, I think at one point in my CrossFit career, I was like, all right, I'm not doing CrossFit anymore. I just need to get stronger because I felt as if I was fit enough, and I was fairly fit. My gymnastics were good, but my strength was just truly not there. So I stopped doing CrossFit, focused on strength only. Realized that even with doing strength only, I still could only get so strong in the clean and snatch, and that's
mhm,
when I pretty much realized just CrossFit wasn't for me.
mhm.
Or at least competing at it.
Sure.
And so, my personal opinion, I'm not saying that if you're not strong, like if you're not strong, you should just give up on CrossFit. That's not the idea here, especially if you're a younger person and not pursuing like this massive career at the same time. Um, my philosophy though is continue to practice the sport, turn down the volume of CrossFit. If you're doing double conditioning sessions and you're trying to get stronger, like that's where you're messing up.
Mhm,
And keep the touches in there so you can get better at the sport of CrossFit while simultaneously getting stronger at the sport and knowing that that strength gains are going to stay around while you bring more CrossFit into your training.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. It's just yeah, like I said, it's enough touch points to keep things fresh, out for lack of better terms, but not so much that you're leading with a ton of fatigue and the need for recovery for the next session.
Yeah, I think people think that fatigue is like this made up, fucking thing. Um, anyway, yeah, I think that's helpful. I see people talk about this a lot, and I've seen people make the mistake a lot of stopping CrossFit to start lifting more, and it's like, does that really make you a better? I can go on tangents about this, so I'm gonna keep this short. But this is my last point: is like, is strength actually the reason you suck at CrossFit? Like, because I always thought strength was my limitation,
Mhm,
right? And then all of a sudden, I got extremely fit. Still didn't get that strong, but like I was very good at CrossFit.
mhm,
I just couldn't compete at the highest level because I wasn't strong enough. The whole time though, I'm like, oh, if I just get stronger, I'd be better. If I just get stronger, I'd be better. And I didn't get stronger. I got way fitter, and I was like good. Like I was
mhm,
good. And so, for those of you who think strength is your only issue, like really ask yourself, like, is that it? Like, is that really, the limitation, right? Are you amazing at everything other than one rep max and complexes? And if the answer to that question is no, then it might not be.
mhm. Yeah, I think part of it just depends on, being realistic with what you perceive your intended, say, outcome to be.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I think I can make it to semis. Okay, well, let's look at the numbers that they have there. Where are you at? How far do you have to get to? If we add, 20 pounds to your clean, how does everything else stack up? According to how everybody else is competing. If the answer is like you're still lagging behind, then like you said, it's not just a strength thing. So just being realistic with yourself and what it is you want to achieve, and the time and all those things. But if you put yourself, just because you can squat 600 pounds doesn't mean that you're going to go and win anything. Doesn't mean you can still run a mile in 5 minutes while you're breathing heavy and jump into the water and all that stuff. So there's a lot of components to it. And again, I think it's just all person dependent on what it is they want to do with their time, and where they realistically see themselves down the road, in terms of what that path looks like.
Yeah, I think if I wasn't friends with Will Carter, I would have been a lot better off. Just comparing myself to this man who could squat like 400 pounds with one leg. So I was
Yeah,
always weak. I was always weak.
I think it's not in the same vein, but when I started CrossFit, that's when Chris Spieler was kind of like
Oh
in
God,
his heyday, right? And I'm thinking,
you were never
yeah,
fit enough.
yeah, right. He's 140 pounds. I weigh more than him. As long as I can kind of do the things that he does, I'll be okay. But he was just an animal when it came to competing. He had that switch. But yeah, so there was my Will Carter. But
There it is, baby. All right, guys. Hope this is helpful. If you have any questions around it, please let us know. We would be very happy to help you out. Hit us up on conquerathlete.com. You can check out all the amazing coaches there. And if you need some coaching, hit us up. All right, guys. Later.
yeah.